Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
Let me tell you, the dopamine, it's flowing.
I am damn excited. Damn excited.
We are so excited to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh!
Well, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs. Welcome in. It's the Arrowhead Addict podcast. It is Thursday, October 9th, 2025. That means it's time for the OG Hour. Patrick Allen here with you, as always, joined by my pal, Arrowhead Addict podcast co-host and host of the Intangibles, Price Carter. How you doing, Price?
I'm doing good. It feels good to be a part of the OG Hour, although I am not a true OG. I'll be an honorary OG since Verderam can't be here. I'll do my best. You know, I am not from New York or angry, but I have watched The Sopranos, so I can kind of like fill in the void there.
Yeah, it's tough to capture that Verderam New York angry vibe, but you're working your way into being an OG, man. You've been around for a minute now, and Verderam's on assignment for Sports Illustrated, so he couldn't be here this week, but that's okay. We got Price. We're going to get great insight from him, and there's a lot to talk about. And you and I haven't had a chance to touch base because I was a little under the weather on Monday night, and so I bowed out of the of the post game show. And I will note that I bowed out of that post-game show before the game. I thought the Chiefs were going to boat race the Jaguars. They should have boat raced the Jaguars, and they were starting to boat race the Jaguars. So you and I haven't had a chance to catch up, but we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about some of the issues facing the team right now, the 2-3 start, and then we'll talk about this very important Lions game that's coming up on Sunday Night Football. But first, I want to get your take. Like, where are you with the Chiefs right now after that Jaguars loss?
Yeah, you know, it certainly feels like a game that the Chiefs have had from time to time. And it's always the damn AFC South, I feel like, where it's, you know, the losing to the Matt Ryan Colts or losing to the Jacoby Brissett Colts. Or I was reminded a couple years ago in 2019, after Patrick Mahomes comes back from the knee injury, they lose a game to the Titans in Tennessee, where the Chiefs like pretty much outproduce them in almost every statistical category and yet end up losing. And this game felt a lot like that, where there was just the perfect storm of things to happen. It's weird to say that in some ways that like the people who really are plugged into the NFL and making lines, the Las Vegas, all those things, the Chiefs went from 1.5 point favorites against the Lions to 2.5 point favorites against the Lions. That's how much the Jaguars loss meant. But with all that being said, you start looking at what is the outcome and what is the future of the division and the playoffs. Like, it doesn't get easier. So in some ways, I come away from that game just looking at it and saying this was just kind of a freak thing that happened. But it almost makes the Chargers loss more frustrating because that's a game they really should have won. And now they've had two of these. You're getting to the point where you're running out of those type of opportunities. The margin for error is getting smaller and smaller. And right now, I just keep coming back to a couple of weeks ago, Matt Nagy came to the podium and he said, you know, we're not really sure what we're good at right now. And that jumps out to me a lot because is this for the first couple of years of Patrick Mahomes' career, it was a team that had a prolific offense and just needed a little bit of defense, just not be terrible on defense. Then the last couple of years, it's been the inverse. It's been a great defense that just needed an average offense. And then special teams, it's just kind of, for the most part, been okay. There was a couple of years ago where Butker struggled because he was injured after that game in Arizona week 1. And this year, now it's like, well, they're not quite elite top level yet on offense, and they're not quite as good as they were on defense. And then, oh yeah, special teams is leaking gas too. So it's just kind of like they have to figure out what type of team they're going to be and find that identity.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I think you worry about them sliding into like Bengals syndrome here, where like they're more talented than they're playing early in the season and they stumble a bunch, and then it might be too late for them to get hot and go on a run because their margin of error has been shrinking. I mean, this is one of those teams that normally they win those close games. And so, the Chargers game, they could have won. They could have won that Eagles game. They definitely should have won the Jaguars game. 1 or 2 games out of their way, and you're feeling a lot different about this team than you are right now. But a lot of people are panicking. I wasn't able to weigh in on the post-game show, so I cut a video earlier this week. It was released yesterday, a little mini cast. It's pinned to my Twitter right now, at @RPatrickAllen. If you haven't seen it, it's one of those sort of monologues that I do. Sometimes we run them before this show starts. I decided to put it out independently. So it's in the Arrowhead Addict podcast feed. You can listen to the audio version. You can watch it on the YouTube channel, and you can find it pinned to my account. But the sentiment of it, if you haven't seen it, is that I think everybody's way overreacting. I'm not saying you shouldn't be concerned. You should be concerned. There are things to be concerned about. There are things to be frustrated about. There's that. And then there's the people who are like, the season's over. They're looking at the schedule and they're like, they're going to lose to the Broncos and they're going to lose to the Lions and they're going to lose to the people are they're out there saying like, they're definitely going to lose to the Colts. And this is where it starts veering into like crazy town territory for me, because Chiefs fans, like all fans, are emotional. And you've seen this, right? Price, you're on Twitter. Like, you'll be in the first quarter of a game that the Chiefs end up winning, and sometimes winning comfortably. And they have like 2 or 3 bad series, and people are like, they suck, they stink, they're going to lose this game, they're going to lose everything. Like, we're emotional as fans. And I think it's really important that everybody, and we're going to talk about the issues right now, but I think it's really important that everybody like chill out. I'm just going to say this, even if they lose to the Lions this week, they are not cooked. They are not done. They're far from it. It's not good. You don't want to be at 4 losses, 2-4, but they're not cooked. And I'm not going to believe that they're cooked until they have 8 losses.
Yeah, I think like probably the thing that I think is the most significant is, and it's just been a dramatic regression. Like whatever the stat was, 10-0 in game and 1-score games. This year, that number is 0-4 or 0-3. It's one of the two. I can't remember, but some of those are a little fluky. Like both the Chargers and the Eagles game, they kind of climbed themselves back into a 1-score game, whether it being a true 1-score game where the Jaguars loss was a true 1-score loss, where it's just, the bounce of the ball, for lack of a better term. And I just like, they were probably not a 15-2 team. I don't think that this is like a 9-8 team either this year. I look at it like this. You can run down their schedule, and I think that there might be one more game on their schedule that they are not a favorite in, and that would be in Buffalo. And like that's probably if we're making the short list of best teams in the NFL, they're on it. But on the other side of that coin, I'm not sure I see another game on their schedule that they're going to be like a heavy favorite in, rather than the Raiders. And that's about it, right? Like, you're looking at the schedule right now, you're saying, okay, well, we have to win both Raiders games. You probably want to take the Chargers game in Arrowhead, especially like with how many injuries the Chargers have right now. Who knows where they'll be later. You're at least probably hoping to take one of the Broncos games, and then they need to take the Titans. Like, that one should be easy. That's probably the other one that they might be a heavy favorite in. So I think that's the thing that's changed. Just like, it's not so much that the Chiefs, in fact, I think there's this has been said all along. I think there's a scenario where the Chiefs are a better team, worse record this year. Like, that's already true, right? Like, they already got more losses this year than they had all last year. But where this offense is going, and some of the youth that they have on the defense, like, continuing to improve, there is a chance that they're a better team this year. But in reality, it could mean that they have to go on the road in the playoffs more than once. And we've seen them do that before. It's definitely not ideal, but this year, it's very reminiscent of the 2021 season, the season where they started off slow. They had those issues in, that terrible Tennessee game. It's also reminds me of like that year, the Titans were the 1 seed. That was a very strange year. And that bled all the way into the playoffs, where the Chiefs choked away that big lead in Arrowhead against the Bengals. And you've got the Matt Stafford, Joe Burrow Super Bowl, which, looking back historically now, is a bit of an outlier.
Yeah, it's tough, and when you start diagnosing, I think there should be concern, but I don't think there should be panic yet. But when you start looking down, like the thing that's the most concerning for me is that a lot of the issues that they've been facing this year, it's their veterans letting them down, like their veteran leaders letting them down. Like it's not Kingsley Suamataia is a disaster. It's not Josh Simmons is a rookie and got beat in really critical areas and caused, strip sacks and things like that. It's Travis Kelce not catching the ball. It's Chris Jones showing lack of effort and impact on some plays. It's Harrison Butker, who we talk sometimes about, hey, maybe this guy can make a Hall of Fame run. It's the coaching in the Chargers game, like them just not being able to adjust to what the Chargers were doing defensively. You got Noel Williams that they're not playing, but everybody's on the field. They're good. So there's some really the people that we rely on as Chiefs fans to sort of lead the way are kind of dropping the ball right now outside of Patrick Mahomes. He did make one really critical mistake against the Jaguars, but he's been fantastic this season, in my opinion. So what do you make of that? I mean, for me, it's fixable. Like Kelce's going to catch the ball. He's going to get it together. Chris Jones is still Chris Jones, I think. Couple bad moments. The coaching staff always figures it out. I mean, do you feel that way? Do you think that continues? And then once that switch gets flipped, that this team is rolling?
This version of the Chiefs, the dynastic run of the Chiefs, has always relied on Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, Patrick Mahomes being great. It's the big three. It's always going to be the big three. And pretty much every Super Bowl that they've won, they've required big plays from those guys, including the Super Bowls they haven't won, the runs to those, right? You think about the last Super Bowl that they won against the 49ers, Chris Jones has basically an unblocked pressure on the final drive to blow up a pass that Brock Purdy had wide open. You've got Travis Kelce like hitting the fastest he had hit in years on a shallow cross against Fred Warner to beat him to set up the game-winning the game-tying field goal. Like they need that from those guys. Real quick tally as you were talking: Harrison Butker, Chris Jones, Patrick Mahomes, and Travis Kelce account for over 25% of the Chiefs' salary cap this year. Those four guys have to be great. If they're not great, not only is it like what the team is built around, it's also literally how it's financially structured. Those guys have to be dogs for this team to go where it wants to go. And Chris Jones is paid like to be the best interior defensive tackle in the league. And he's not been. Travis Kelce is paid to be a top 5 tight end. I think obviously Travis Kelce has kind of been the tale of two seasons so far. You've got those first couple of games where he's dropping the ball that turns into a pick and taking out Xavier Worthy and some mental errors on his behalf. I think he's cleaned that up. And I do think like distinctly, you can tell that the weight loss that he has had has made him much more spry he already has more yards after the catch this year than he had all last year. Last time I checked, he was still the leader in the team in yards after catch. And I think Mahomes is playing well. I think, honestly, he's played insanely well whenever you factor in just like how much better each week the offensive line looks. Like there was a moment there last night or on Monday where he had so much time back there that he just started directing traffic. It started becoming like, 500 mystery box back there. So that's a great sign to see. But on the other side, it's like Harrison Butker. He's the highest paid kicker in the game. And it really stinks that it happened the way it did because I was like, okay, it's a confidence thing. He's strung together one good performance, no missed field goals, no missed extra points, and then boom, the kick out of bounds. So it's frustrating. You're right. Those guys, it's a huge part of it. And today, Chris Jones came to the podium and gave a much more appropriate answer about his lack of effort on that final play. I will say, I do think that there was a moment, and look, I'm not a professional athlete. I'm not even close to a professional athlete. So they're paid the big bucks to not think like this. But I do think there was kind of a moment of like, wait, did that just happen? Like it was kind of like a weird glitch in the Matrix for a second where like he falls down. Everyone's like, wait, what do we do? Either way, it's a terrible look. And then his answer afterwards really was not acceptable where he's like, yeah, we just got to finish. We have to try to be better. It's like, no, not we, your teammates were. So yeah, I definitely think like if this team, it's always been this way. If they're going to get where they want to get and do what they want to do, it revolves around those big three, those big four guys playing at their best.
Yeah, it was a tough look for him. And he's a fantastic leader. Everything we hear about Chris Jones, the way that he talks to the young guys, helps coach them up, the effort that he gives in every game and the way that he's clutch. And that was a bad moment. And I think obviously it got magnified by, like, he was probably, that was a long drive they just went on. He was probably wiped, and he was probably trying to get a breather, and he thought he was down. And then, you know what I mean? Just got caught out there in no man's land, made a bad decision. And, you know, you want to see these guys as a fan going until they vomit, right? Like, it's the game's on the line. You're getting paid millions of dollars. Like, you know, they're on the goal line, man. Like, you're the best player. Like, I don't care how tired you are. This is, you got to dig deep. You know, if you pass out, you pass out. I mean, like, that's what you want to see as a fan. So I think it was a tough moment for him. But I'm not looking for really silver linings or moral victories here, but I think there's a lot that they're going to be able to take from these struggles. And in my video that's pinned to my Twitter, I talk about that 2021 team. I'm like, these guys ended up 3-4, and they got waxed by the Titans. They got, you know, it was like, you know, I think Patrick Mahomes got a concussion in that game, and they only scored 3 points. And it was like, that was it, man. These guys are toast. And they ended up in the AFC Championship game. And frankly, they should have gone to the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes, I've maintained to this day, I think he had a concussion at the end of that game, because he was standing there in the red zone and there were guys open, and he just didn't seem like himself. Or maybe it was just a bad moment for him. But they still made it all the way back to the AFC Championship game. So to be counting this team out now is just absolutely insane. And especially because they put up 470 some yards against it. And this Jaguars defense is no joke. They're a good defense. They take the ball away. They're really good against the run. And this is, and I say it in my video, Price, I thought this was the best the Chiefs offense looked since Patrick Mahomes last, I think it was 2022 when he won the MVP. Like, they were going pretty much, not every drive, but they were going up and down the field, getting what they wanted. He had plenty of time. Everybody was involved, and everybody was competent. And that's the big thing that has me excited, is all of the offensive struggles. Everyone's been blaming Mahomes won't throw the ball deep, and he's a check down artist, and all those types of things. And then you see how this offense is operating, and you see a guy like Tyquan Thornton come in. And it's like, what's the difference? It's like, you bring in Sky Moore, you bring in MVS, you bring in all these guys, and they can't play. They tried so many guys. They bring in Tyquan Thornton, and this dude, every single game, makes an impact. He catches the ball. He's getting open. You know, there are a couple of things that happen, like Hollywood Brown not getting his head around on that, that last drive and all those things. But like, they're proficient. He trusts multiple guys. He's getting the ball to them. And that means this offense moves. And when Rashee Rice gets back, holy crap, man. I mean, this is going to be the best offense they've had in a long time.
Yeah. And I think that is the reason for encouragement the most, because we've seen this team has another gear in the playoffs. Like, I go back to that Bills game in the AFC Championship this year. Like, that was the best version of that offense that we had seen. They were moving the ball at will on the Bills, and that offense had struggled most of the year. So they do tend to have another gear with play calling, with play design, scheme. We know they save things. And it's so unfortunate that the season has started the way it has, so we cannot glow about the positives. Like, I really try not to be like disingenuous with my coverage of the team, because I don't want people to think that I'm trying to sell them a bag of goods. That's not what I truly believe. But I come out seeming more positive than most, and it's because there's so many really good developments on this team. Like, I wrote an article last week for the website. The Chiefs should approach Tyquan Thornton soon about extending him. They have right now they have 4 solid receivers when Rashee Rice comes back, 2 who I think are a true wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2. And Tyquan Thornton is pushing himself into that wide receiver 2 conversation with what he's doing. And they took him and developed him off the practice squad. That's been a huge development. The other thing is, through 5 games, we looked at this schedule and said, this is a brutal start for a young offensive line on the left side, with the Chargers, with the Eagles, with the Giants, even the Jags. Like, Josh Hines-Island is a really good pass rusher. Now, Trayvon Walker did not play, but Eric Armstead is on that defensive line too. And not only is the offensive line holding its own, it's excelling. There's progress, there's growth. And Josh Simmons, like, I'm sitting here looking at a graph right now put out by PFF. This is by Timo Risque, PFF_Moo. He does a lot of those charts, upper right quadrant, evaluating offensive tackles when left on an island. Josh Simmons is left on an island, meaning he gets no chip help at one of the highest rates in the NFL. Here are the names that are around him on the graph, by the way. That's always a great way to tell, like, how good or not good. Jordan Mailata, Andrew Thomas, Joe Alt, Lane Johnson, Deion Dawkins, Taylor Moton, Broderick Jones. He's 5 games into his career. Like that is insanely great development. And so I continue to be just super optimistic about the offense. And they have another gear. That's the thing is like, if this is what it was with Rashee Rice, you say like, okay, like they're top 10, top 5 offense, but they have another gear. And I think that's just going to continue to help everyone too, because the minute they get Rashee Rice back, they're going to go back to a lot of those quick hitter passing games. The RPO game is going to open up even more. And to me, the over the top stretch with Worthy and Thornton is going to open up so much underneath for Kelce and for Rice. And I just think it's the baseball lineup analogy. The guys move down a slot. How much better do Juju and Hollywood Brown look as wide receiver 4s and 5s? And I think this was one of Hollywood Brown's better games because of not so much the yardage total, but the production when they got it from him.
Yeah, I saw a clip from Shannon Sharp's podcast with Ocho Cinco, and they were talking about that last play where Mahomes hit Hollywood in the shoulder when they were trying to get down into field goal range, and both of them, and these guys know what they're talking about, were like, if Hollywood Brown catches that, like Shannon was like, if he catches that, it's a touchdown. He's like, because from Shannon's point of view, he was like, the safety was flat-footed. Hollywood Brown catches that in stride. He's Hollywood Brown. Like he's going to score on the backside. And then Ocho pointed out, even if he doesn't, even if he trips or they somehow make the tackle, they're going to be in field goal range. And
they had 3 timeouts. Like that's the thing that's so frustrating. Is like you're sitting there and you didn't want to say they were dead yet because like, all right, they got 23 seconds, middle of the field's wide open because they got 3 timeouts. You're just like, this is Harrison Butker redemption time. Here we go. We've seen him do this before, and then instead, it's just like it was a wet fart noise, and that was pretty unfortunate.
It was so frustrating. But hopefully the bad luck doesn't continue. This team has no doubt they have benefited from, of course, talent and superior skill. That you don't win as many close games. Everyone acts like it was a fluke. You don't win that many close games like they did without the skill and some luck. They certainly benefited from some luck to do that as well. They have not benefited from any luck this year. They have not had any. So that usually turns itself around and evens out or gets close to even. Sometimes it doesn't. You can flip a coin, get heads 15 times in a row. It's possible. But it probably will. What they can control, and why I'm the most encouraged, is they can control the mistakes, the penalties. Butker can get right. We know he can do it. We know these guys can do it. We know Travis Kelce knows how to catch a football. Like all of the problems that they're having, except for maybe Jawan Taylor, he may not be able to stop getting penalties. But even he had a better game against the Jaguars.
2 weeks now,
yeah. So take a deep breath, everybody. This is a really big one coming up here. We're going to preview it in just a second. But I think this team is going to be okay. And actually, I think they're going to be better than okay. It'll be really frustrated if they turn out to be really good and somehow just bad luck and this early stumble keeps them from getting in the playoffs. But as I say in my video, man, a couple years ago, the Dolphins got in at 9-8. The Steelers, bad Steelers teams, keep getting in at 10-7. And the other thing I say in that video is, it's like whenever the Chiefs stumble or facing adversity, it's like the people that are criticizing them or calling it, it's doom time. They assume that the rest of the NFL is going to be perfect, right? They're like, the Chiefs can't be perfect the rest of the way. They're going to mess up. And because of that, they're toast because they're never going to catch these other teams. And it's like, man, they're a game out of the AFC West. They're a game out. That's it, right? So after everything that's happened, they're a game out. And there are 12 games to play. You don't think the Bills lost to the Patriots? Like the Patriots, they're improving. Like they're having a nice little season, but they are not better than the Bills, right? The Chargers are not worse than the Giants. They lost to them though. So what do you think is going to happen in these 12 games? You think all the teams in front of them that are like a game in front of them from the playoffs they're just going to win out?
Yeah, great example. That is, no one thought that the Chargers were going to go up and lose to Jackson Dart in his first start, or the Chargers this week are going down to Miami. They're dinged up as hell along the offensive line. Dolphins have 3 good pass rushers. Dolphins can still move the ball. I mean, would anybody be shocked if they lose that game? I will say I would be pretty shocked if the Broncos lose to the Jets. But hey, that's a game that's in the UK. Like, maybe some weird stuff happens in that game. You're right. Like, I think it is so often that we look at things and we look at it through the lens of Chiefs fans, where we say, all right, well, this is how we feel about this. Every fan base, like, for instance, we look at the Chiefs and we see the Lions coming to town. And we're like, oh, shoot, the Lions. Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, like, this offense is loaded. Lions fans don't want to see the Chiefs on their schedule in Arrowhead. Like that, right. It's the same type of thing. So I do think that sometimes we look at things through the filter of this is how we think it is versus like how the rest of the league sees it. And, think about how people sitting there watching Monday Night Football and seeing the Chiefs offense and realizing that Rashee Rice is coming back, and realizing just kind of the bullshit that had to happen in that game for it to even happen the way that it did. I think that was Mahomes' first red zone pick 6 of his career, if I remember correctly. And they also get the crazy Trevor Lawrence play where if someone touches them down with a finger, they probably barely get off a final play. And by the way, that was like 4th down. So like either way, it was do or die in that moment.
Yeah, it's crazy. And remember, what is right now will not necessarily be. There is a long, long way to go. Remember when Josh McDaniels went 4-0 as a head coach, and beat the Patriots? I mean, it is still really early. And like the Jaguars, and all due respect to them, that was a really gritty win. Lawrence has not been playing well this year. I didn't think he played great, but he played better. And his running, he should be using that ability because it really helped them. And I think that caught the Chiefs by surprise a little bit. But if you look at that team, and they're good, but are they a top team in the AFC? Like they have, I think after that game, 10 interceptions, and credit them for it. But interceptions are not a sticky stat. They're not going to get the interceptions at the rate that they have. Every quarterback they have played this year, they have picked off multiple times, with the exception of 2. They only got Patrick Mahomes once, and they didn't get Joe Burrow, but he only played like a small portion of the game. But Jake Browning then came in and threw 3 interceptions. Like they are a team, like they are a prime drop-off candidate team. If you're doing the betting thing, right? Like a team like the Jaguars, it looks so good.
And the Vegas thing is like turnovers equal turnarounds, right? Like they're a team that was picking in the top 5 of the draft. They have a soft schedule. They play in probably the worst division in the AFC. And it's a team, like the only thing I could say about them is like, there is a lot of unrealized potential. Like Travis Etienne's finally hitting some of that potential he had coming out of Clemson. Trevor Lawrence, a perennial disappointing 1-1, now has an OC that just made a 1-1 into like one of the better quarterbacks in the league with Baker Mayfield. I think we're seeing a better version of Travis Hunter. Like Travis Hunter's ball skills just were through the roof at college. And I think, we saw some of that realized potential. We know Brian Thomas Jr. is a stud. Like I do think that even Devin Lloyd's a great example of this. Like they didn't even pick up Devin Lloyd's 5th-year option. And now he's playing like a defensive player of the year candidate. So I do think that there's a lot of like ceiling left in that team, which is what, kind of what makes it exciting. But yes, like I don't think looking at it statistically right now, you can say like this is one of the best defenses in the NFL. And this is, a real contender. I think when push comes to shove, they're probably going to be that wild card team or the team that wins that division. And it'll probably be a lot more of like, okay, this is the team that gets led to slaughter up in Orchard Park or whatever. Yeah,
they could be one of these teams that has it's not that they're bad, but they have a really inflated record because of some fortunate, outliers early in the season with those turnovers. And if the rest of the guys come along, great, but then they could get in the playoffs and they don't get those turnovers, and you just sort of see it. But we're going to get into this. We got to preview this Lions game. And before we do, I just need to let you know that since football season is in full swing, Underdog is the place to get in on all the action. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like rushing yards, receptions, touchdowns, and more. You get your picks right, you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. I love playing Underdog. It's a ton of fun. Anytime you're sitting around watching a game, whether it's KC or somebody else, you can get in a little bit of extra fun, kind of a second screen experience. Tonight, I'm looking at this Eagles-Giants game, and I was working on this late last night. I'm going to go Saquon Barkley lower than 88.5 rushing yards in this one, and Jackson Dart lower than 177.5 passing yards. I think this is going to be, I like Jackson Dart, but I think this is going to be a tough one for him going up against this Eagles defense. They're a veteran team. And the only reason I don't think Saquon gets the rushing total is because I think they're really going to be trying to push the ball down the field because they've been getting a lot of criticism about their passing game. AJ Brown wants the ball, and I think they're going to attack in this one. So listen, download the app today. Sign up with our promo code Arrowhead Addict. You'll score $100 in bonus funds or entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code Arrowhead Addict. Underdog. Make picks. Win money. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. And present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania. Concerned about your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NEW YORK or text HOPE New York to 467-369. All right, let's get into the big game here for the Chiefs. It's Chiefs, it's Lions. Lions are really good, man. Chiefs are 2-3. Lions are 4-1. Last I checked last night, Chiefs were 2.5-point favorites with a big over-under in this one of 52.5. They expect points. 79% of the bets are on the Lions. Not a lot of faith in the Chiefs from the public in this one. Injury report, we haven't got, let me double check. We haven't got an update yet for today, but there's good news
Xavier,
on the Chiefs front.
Sorry. I thought you were talking about the Chiefs. Yeah, Xavier Worthy didn't practice with that hip and shoulder. He's the only person who didn't practice, but he did practice yesterday. So my guess is that we'll probably see him be a limited participant Friday and should probably play. They're probably just giving him the day off, especially since it's a short week for them.
Did you get that on Twitter? They haven't updated their website yet.
Yeah, Pete Sweeney put it out. The Kansas City Star. And I will say, to the money, though the percentage of the tickets are on the Lions, the percentage of the money is much closer to the Chiefs. So I know over on Sports Radio 810, where Sterling and some of our other friends work, Fat Jack, who is one of their sports betting analysis, said that like the way that they're moving the line, it looks a lot like some really respected bettors are coming in heavy on the Chiefs, and that's why it went from 1.5 to 2.5. You're talking about the Lions and their injuries. Terrion Arnold, Alabama cornerback, is out in this game, and DJ Reed. So they're down their two of their starting quarters. Ali McNeil, kind of their like all-world defensive tackle, is not going to be playing in this game. The pass rush is just essentially Aiden Hutchinson. So the injuries are substantial for the Lions, and they're still trying to get some of those guys back. So I think that's why you see that higher over/under. And then obviously you're playing a game in Arrowhead. Lions, strangely enough, aren't that battle tested, right? Like they lose week one. They lose week one to the Packers whenever the Packers won the week 1 Super Bowl. And then since then they beat the Bears, and then they beat up on the Ravens, which at the time looked like a great win, but now is looking worse and worse all the time. And then they beat up on the Browns and the Bengals. So they come into this as like the highest scoring offense in the NFL. They're number 4 in a total offensive DVOA. They're a juggernaut offensively, but I do think that there is some questions to be asked about what this version of the Lions look like coming into Arrowhead. Yeah,
were they really? I mean, obviously they're super formidable with that offense and all those weapons they have. They put up 52, 38, 34, and 37. Best defense they faced was probably the Browns this year. They put 34 up on them. But that's a tricky one, right? Because as hard as that poor Browns defense is trying, they had Joe Flacco out there throwing interceptions. They don't really have any wide receiver. Like, they just can't score. And so it can be a little bit deceiving when you see, oh, well, they tore up that really good Browns defense, but it's you need the other side of the ball to do their job. But look, this is a really scary offense. You mentioned some of the guys earlier. I mean, they've got the best 1-2 punch in the backfield for my money in the NFL with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Amon-Ra St. Brown didn't practice yesterday. He's got a wrist injury, but I think he's going to be fine. He'll be out there. He's one of the best in the league. Some might make an argument he's the best in the league. All due respect to Mr. Jefferson and Mr. Chase. He's an awesome receiver. God, would I love to have him on the Chiefs.
Yeah, boy, I'll channel my Verderam here a little bit. If the Chiefs allow for the Lions to line Amon-Ra St. Brown consistently over Shamari Connor, this game might be over before it even starts. The problem with this is the Chiefs' rules are too easy to be broken. They want to get Noel Williams on the field. They want to have Trent McDuffie in the slot. They like Shamari Connor back at safety. Steve Spagnuolo will come to the podium and tell you that. But the Chiefs' rules are obvious. If you get heavier bodies and 12 and 13 personnel onto the field, they have to match that with McDuffie and Watson on the outside. And that's what these teams have done consistently. Some of the Chiefs' worst defensive performances this year have all come at the hands of teams that come out and run personnel and pass the ball. Like the Chargers did that. The Eagles do that well as well. And then that's also what happened with the Jaguars. There's a ton of personnel, and you've got Shamari Connor taking a season-high snaps in the slot, and you get Noel Williams on the field for three snaps. And don't get me wrong, I'm very excited about Noel Williams and his progression. He's probably not like the best corner in the NFL if you take off the snap minimums like he is on PFF. Either way, this team brought in Christian Fulton to do the same thing that he was doing. So they have to find a way to match that differently, because you've got Jameson Williams, who is kind of, their Tyquan Thornton. They have very similar stats this year. I think Jameson's a little bit more explosive after the catch, but they're going to be looking to stretch the field with him. I don't think that's a good matchup for Noel Williams or Christian Fulton, who are not like stride for stride runners. So are you matching him with Jalen Watson? And then you put McDuffie on Amon-Ra St. Brown and hope and pray for the rest of it, like make Isaac Tesla beat you. And then the other spot in this game that is very scary. Last week was a really good Nick Bolton game. I just thought it matched his skill set well. Well, now you've got Laporta over the middle of the field, who is, kind of, their matchup nightmare in the middle of the field. And then, while I think David Montgomery is a good fit for Nick Bolton, Jahmyr Gibbs, that's an Ingles eraser. Him in the passing game and him just on the outside. Like, they don't usually put a fullback on the field much. The Lions do, which is a place that the Chiefs run game struggles, or run defense struggles. But man, this one's scary because they just have so many ways to beat you.
It is. I mean, what do you do if you're Steve Spagnuolo in this one? Is it you try to affect the quarterback, because he's the weak link, and that's with all due respect to him. But when you talk about the names that we just mentioned on the offensive side of the ball of the major players, he's a weak link.
Well, I think, you start there with, like, who are the guys that the Chiefs have struggled with this year? It's quarterbacks who can test you as a thrower and also as a runner. Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence. And, I still think a lot of Jalen Hurts, the passer. I think what he does is pretty narrow, but what he does well. They did not fear him as a passer in that game, and they heated him up to level 100, which is cover zero blitz one after the other. And then they had a very distinct plan for Lamar Jackson that worked. And then Lamar leaves that game injured. So it's even hard to know, like, what the final product would have been there. Goff is not mobile, right? Like, he can move, but he's not a running threat. If he breaks contain in the pocket, you feel good about George Karlaftis catching him and running him down. You don't have to have that thing where, like, oh, well, should we be spying him, like people were saying about Trevor Lawrence? So yeah, I think this would be a great time for the 4-man pass rush to start getting home more and more. And I think you just constantly look for ways that you can, if they could stop the run in this game without having to play heavy base personnel, because Leo Chanel is another one of those guys. Like, we saw that the Ravens were trying to target that, right? They go after Leo Chanel one-on-one coverage with Mark Andrews. He makes a great play. So I think that if you could come out in this game and play your dime, where you have McDuffie in the slot, where Amon-Ra St. Brown runs most of his routes out there, you hope that Drew Tranquil and Jaden Hicks can take care of Laporta, and then you just kind of hold on for dear life with Jameson Williams on the outside. That's probably your best bet. We don't see the Chiefs get to face a running back like Jahmyr Gibbs very often, where it's more of speed and one cut outside. That's the unique part here, is, like, he can erase angles, what they do with him. Montgomery is more the type of guy that they tend to face. I'd say probably one of the closer backs to Gibbs is James Cook, as far as how they run and the speed and that type of stuff. So, and Cook has got him. So that's what I would do, is I would just try to, like, get home with 4 as much as possible, try to play coverage on the back end, and then just try some timely run blitzes. Because ideally what you want to do with this Chiefs offense is you want to script them out of that running. And that's what the Chiefs used to do. Like, it used to be just like clockwork. Chiefs defense, even when it was terrible in 2018, Chiefs win the toss, they defer. Somehow the defense gets a 3-and-out to start. The Chiefs go down, get 7, and then they're chasing points the rest of the game. And you get these teams like these Shanahan, McVay systems, or like Lamar Jackson, their offense, where they want to run the ball. And then if they get into pass-only script, that's where they start getting in trouble.
Yeah, and that's the strength for the Chiefs, I think, is going to be that pass defense, even though they're having trouble getting home. I watch this Lions team a lot. Dan Campbell wants to run the ball. He wants to start with the run. He's got the weapons in the passing game, and it makes everything easier for his quarterback. So he wants Gibbs and Montgomery to come out. He wants to wear you down, and then set up those big pass plays that they can get over the middle with Laporta, with Amon-Ra. Jameson Williams is scary because he's just so explosive. And so it's like you think you've got everything covered. And he hasn't had a great season this year, statistic-wise. But then they throw him on a screen or an end around or something like that. And he's so fast that you think you do everything right, and they can get you. So they can hit you with big plays. They can hit you with big runs, big passes, big runs. It's going to be challenging, but I think they're going to win. If they're going to win this game, they're going to win it on first and second down. They have to stop the run, get them in obvious passing situations so Spags can dial up. I'd love to see a lot of corner blitzes in this one, really try to confuse Goff and force him into mistakes. And then it's going to have to be, I think for me, on the flip side, the best friend for the defense in this game going up against such an explosive offense is going to be the offense. That they cannot afford to go out there and sputter and make mistakes and put this defense in a bad position. They need to take that momentum that they sort of were getting there against the Jaguars. And I'll be honest, first 2 weeks of the season, I was like, I don't know about this offense, man. They look bad. And then the Ravens, then the Jaguars, they're better and they're better and they're better. They need to take one more step forward in this one and really light up this defense.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about one of the biggest factors in this game, I guarantee you will be Dan Campbell and how aggressive he is on 4th down. I'm a huge believer in measuring what you should do should be based upon what your opponents want you to do. And if you're a Chiefs fan and it's 4th and 3 and you see the offense staying on the field with the Lions, your reaction is like, damn it, they're going for it. Right? Like, they will go for this, and he will live and die by the sword. Like, we get about 1 or 2 primetime games a year where the Lions go 1 for 5 on 4th down, and Ryan Clark gets on ESPN and has to criticize them, and then they never talk about it whenever they pull out the game. Whenever, I think it was a couple weeks ago against the Ravens, they hit a huge dagger concept to Jameson Williams to ice the game, or to Amon-Ra St. Brown to ice the game. That's who they're going to be. So keeping them 1 for 5 or 2 for 4 on 4th down instead of 4 for 4 is going to be huge, because he will go for it. We saw him this game in Kansas City in 2023 when the Chiefs were hanging the banner. They go for a fake punt on their own side of the 30 or something. That is huge in this game, because frankly, the Lions are one of the most fun teams to watch. I feel like if I was a player, Dan Campbell would be one of the guys that I want to play for more than anyone else. And after week 1, when it started to look like they were really missing Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn hasn't won a damn game up in New York. And the Lions offense just continues to roll. And he seems to just really have a touch with these coordinators and hiring them and what they've got in place. And they haven't missed a beat. So I think the coaching will be huge here for sure.
It's really remarkable what they've done with that franchise after years and years and years of futility. The team that they've put together, it's almost Golden State Warriors-esque, the number of stars they've managed to acquire. So we mentioned the teams that they played this year so far. The Bears, the Ravens, the Browns, the Bengals with Browning. Is this Chiefs team, and I mean the last 2 weeks version of it, the best offense that this defense is going to face this year?
Yeah, I mean, I would have to say yes, especially whenever you factor in how many different ways that they can beat you. I think the best pure talent, because the offensive line is not what it used to be. It's still good, but it's not best in the league good. I think player for player talent, the Eagles, especially when you factor in their tush push, what they can do, but the results just haven't really bore that out, right? That the Eagles go out 3 and out more than any other offense in the NFL this year. Like they've got their own issues. So yeah, I do think that it's the most talented offense that they're going to face, and they kind of have their own version of the tush push with just how aggressive Dan Campbell is. They don't convert it at that high of a rate, but they're still really aggressive. And yeah, you're not going to. Of the pathways for a Chiefs win here, I feel the slimmest path is them holding the Lions down to 14 and the Chiefs scratch across 17. Like that just doesn't seem like it's really a possibility, especially because like the Lions can hit explosives in the run game, unlike many other teams. Maybe the Eagles are the only team that really can, with Hurts' legs and then like the dynamic element of Saquon Barkley. And you know that the Lions, they are going to embrace that underdog mentality. They're the betting underdog. They're coming into Arrowhead. You said it yourself. They're building a culture. They're establishing a culture there, something that took a long time to erase with what Detroit had been the laughingstock for so long. This is what Harbaugh is trying to do with the Chargers and everything. They have a culture in place and they believe in it. And I'm sure that they will lean hard into that coming into, what's been the dynasty in the NFL the last couple of years.
What about the flip side of this? Is this Chiefs offense going to be the best offense the Lions defense has faced this year?
Well, I think it's certainly possible. Let's run over here real quick. Their schedule. They've played the Bucks. The Bucks are probably every bit the Chiefs match. Like I think the Bucks at full power with Ibuka, with Godwin, with Evans, Bucky Irving. That's a pretty damn good offense. The Vikings have the person for person talent. They just don't have a quarterback. I'll say this: they've got some tough offenses. The Chiefs, then they got the Buccaneers, then they do have the Eagles, and they also have the Rams, who I think right now they're playing about as well as anyone on offense. They just can't seem to figure out how to win games there at the end. But what I will say, I feel very confident that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback that they're going to face. Right?
Yeah, but to this point, do you think the Chiefs offense that's coming in there will be the best offense they've faced so far this season?
Certainly. Especially whenever you factor in like what the Ravens are now. I certainly think so. And I also think that the challenge here is a little bit unique with like the Chiefs offense is kind of a growing, evolving product right now. For the first time in a long time, they're not just this quick West Coast offense passing game that's dink and gunk. I know Kurt Warner did a nice kind of breakdown about like how tough it was for the Chiefs passing game the last couple of years, where they have no stretch and everyone's crashing down on them, and they have no run game. Like the timing has to be impeccable. So I think this Chiefs offense is kind of changing and evolving. Like we saw 2 weeks ago, Tyquan Thornton took majority of his snaps from the slot once Xavier Worthy came back. Last week that flipped. He started playing out wide more. So I think that they're still finding the best version of themselves. And I think the evolution we've seen of Kingsley Suamataia and Josh Simmons in the run game is substantial. And right now I'm working on a piece talking about under center runs and play action for the Chiefs and how they're trying to utilize it more and how it can be beneficial to them. So I think the Chiefs offense is still evolving too. So I think there's a mystery element to that as well too.
I'm nervous, man. Who's got to step up on the Chiefs offense for them to win this game?
You know what? It feels like if the Chiefs are going to get the best version of themselves, I think that like it continues to be Isaiah Pacheco just being closer to the best version of himself. We saw that a little bit more last week, even though Patrick Mahomes was still the team's leading rusher. I think part of that was just because the Chiefs have split up the carries, but I think that we got closer to seeing the better version of himself. Obviously Worthy, Tyquan Thornton, Kelce, all those guys need to be where they are. I feel really good about the offensive line. Especially like Aiden Hutchinson is a star. He's one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, but that's really it along a defensive line. So they need to have a plan for him to have 4 hands on him at all times. But I feel like the offensive line can hold their own in this game. So if they can do that and just have some credibility to the run game, we're not asking for, top 5 rushing attack in the NFL. They just need to keep them honest. And I think they did a good enough job of that last week. And keep in mind, the run game, we're continuing to see more and more Brashard Smith inclusion into it. You can always factor in Xavier Worthy into the run game a little bit too. And Patrick Mahomes, like ground game as a whole, I think is getting better. And especially because I think Josh Simmons had his best day as a run blocker last week too. So Isaiah Pacheco, if they can get the best version of him, that helps a whole lot.
Yeah, I think we know that especially when a team has one really good pass rusher like this, but like the rest of it's not too crazy. There's nobody better than Andy Reid at figuring out ways to neutralize them. They let them upfield, and with the weapons that they have, and guys like Hollywood Brown and Worthy and Brashard Smith, I think he's going to have a deep bag of plays to make Aiden Hutchinson think he's getting free, and then the Chiefs have something on the back end. So if they're able to execute those plays, that could really help this offense move up and down the field. All right, let's dive into our final score predictions. So let us know in the chat. Fire up yours. We're going to read some of them on the air. Final score predictions for Chiefs Lions. Before we do, got to let you know we got something special lined up for our Arrowhead Addict family. Each month, we're running an exclusive giveaway just for our members. And this October, we've got some fantastic prizes lined up. If you're in our Ring of Honor tier, then you're in the running to win a Joshua Simmons jersey. And for all of our other amazing members, we've got a Chiefs baseball cap giveaway waiting for you. All you have to do is be a member of either of those tiers by the end of October. We'll announce the giveaway live on the OG Hour, this show, on the first Thursday of every month. So be sure to tune in. And signing up is easy. Just click the link in the description of our YouTube video. Arrowhead Addict members not only get entered into these exclusive giveaways, but they also get access to our private Discord with the hosts, special member happy hours, fantasy football leagues, and more. We'd love to get you to know you better. So what are you waiting for? Become an Arrowhead Addict member now. Support the show. And maybe you're wearing that Josh Simmons jersey here. Check out that link in the description. All right, let's check the chat, see if we got any predictions. Our guy Joshua Clayton, who never misses a show, says 34-28 Chiefs. What do you think, Price?
This one's tough. I've gone back and forth. I cannot see a low scoring affair, as I said. And honestly, I'm probably going to give the slight edge to the Chiefs here, only because I think that this game, and I hate the it means more or whatever. The Lions can afford to lose this game and be fine. I think that they're heavy favorite for that division now, and the Chiefs on the other hand, I think that they need every bit of this game, especially when you look at what's going on in the division and everything. So, but I'm gonna go 35-33 Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, game-winning field goal drive or something like that. I just feel like this is going to be a game that really comes down to who can make the fewest mistakes and then who can execute the highest when it matters the most.
It's going to be a tight one, I think. Steve Cashman in the chat says Lions 27-24. Could be. I'm going to go Chiefs 28, Lions 27 in this one, in a real nail biter. With the Chiefs having to drive down and get a touchdown at the end there to win it. And it will be the most nerve-wracking Harrison Butker extra point in some time, but he's going to come through. Quick question in the chat before we go from Ricky over on Facebook. Do you think Brett Veach should sign Christian Wilkins, defensive tackle? He can help Chris Jones in the middle. Also, do you think that they should trade for running back Alvin Kamara? What do you think, Price?
The Christian Wilkins thing, that was a really unique situation. The Raiders cut him with so much dead money. They wanted to move on. I think that there's some injury settlement things going on there. I think that the Raiders are trying to get some of their money back, claiming that he didn't handle his rehab correctly. Foot injuries are no joke for big guys like that. That's just something that you would have to know the player and have to know where he's at rehab wise. And the only thing that would be advantage is he could basically sign a vet minimum deal, but the Christian Wilkins isn't the best teammate from what I've heard either. He's kind of a locker room guy. So that whole thing was weird, right? There's the whole thing about him kissing another teammate on the forehead or something that came out that was part of it. So he's one of those that the situation has to be perfect. If he's healthy, if he's not a prick, then yeah, I mean, maybe you kick the tires on him, but the Chiefs, they've got really minimal salary cap space right now. They definitely have to do some maneuvering. As for Alvin Kamara, I think he's a very natural fit. I think that makes sense because he profiles as the most true 3-down back. Unfortunately, I think it's becoming more and more apparent, though, that I think the trade that the Chiefs need to make is more of a pass rusher than it is a running back. And I think this game in this past week kind of illustrates what this running game can look like if they're getting the most out of their passing game. And the 4-man pass rush needs help. And we've seen them go after this before with a Melvin Ingram, or when they brought in Terrell Suggs off of waivers. I think that could be the well that they need to go to more than running back at this point.
Yeah, they certainly need to generate pressure. I'm still driving the Breece Hall bandwagon. Go get him. What do you think?
Oh, I mean, if you put Breece Hall in this offense with Rashee Rice and everything, you're kicking this offense into overdrive, and the expectation is it's top 1 or 2 in the league. And I also think if you're trading for Breece Hall, and this is probably a controversial take, like if you're trading for him, don't rent him. Trade him and get him under contract, and then boom, you've crossed running back. Like you can take a day 3 running back if you want to in the draft, or sign a vet. But Brashard Smith, Breece Hall, that's your running back room for the next couple of years. I'm really big on like crossing things off the list, right? Like if you bring in if you were to extend Tyquan Thornton, wide receiver is basically not a need for you. Your core is Worthy, Rice, Thornton, and Royals, and then like okay, you can bring in a savvy vet. Get Breece Hall in here, sign him, and like. That's your guy for the next couple of years, because I do think that the running back class is glowing up a little bit. I just put a running back, Justice Haynes, the running back from Michigan, in my mock that I wrote for the website today. But this isn't last year's running back class. So that's my opinion that like, yes, he's an absolute great fit. I think like he's never faced a light box in his life in the New York Jets. So I definitely think that would be a huge upgrade for him. And I do think that he's a good fit. Like he's a good passing down back. He's explosive. He can do some of the outside zone stuff that the Chiefs used to like to do that they don't really get to do a whole lot now.
Yeah, root for the Jets to keep losing. I don't know if that's a kind of trade that Brett Veach would make, but I don't know that they're going to have to pay a crazy amount for him. Especially with they've got Braylon Allen over there. They like it. I know he's injured, but maybe, would you send Pacheco and a pick over there for him?
The only reason why they would take Pacheco is basically to just facilitate the game, right? Because
they need somebody, right?
Yeah. So, and they brought in Isaiah Davis from South Dakota and Braylon Allen. I think my guess is probably like a 4th. Or like that's probably what it's going to take for a guy who is like a top 60 pick. Keeping in mind that it's a rental, but also like you could tag him if you wanted to. So there's some leeway there. So my guess is a 4th, but like, hey, if I told you the Chiefs draft a running back on the 4th round next year of the draft, you'd be like, hey, cool. We finally got a running back. That's probably right around the zip code that most people wanted the Chiefs to take a running back this year. Well, you spend a 4th round pick and then salary cap space, which the cap is going to be tight next year, but you can do some really quick work and find a lot of cap space, whether it be removing Juwan Taylor. I think whether it be the end of this year or mid-year this year, we will get a new Patrick Mahomes contract, not a rework, but a brand new deal. In which case, because I mean, he's gotten to like where he's like 11th and 12th and like average annual value for his contract. So I think it's probably time that they redo that deal. And it makes sense. Like Josh Allen just redid his. I think Lamar is going to or has redone his. So then he'll go right on top where he belongs.
Yeah. I'd give a 4th all day for Breece Hall. I think he's an excellent back. I think you plug him into this offense, like you said, it's going to be very, very dangerous. And the poor guy is just wasting away on the Jets. I mean, poor him and Garrett Wilson, and it's just Wilson manages to get his in garbage time when they're so far behind. But it's just a shame. And I think if you trade for him, sign him right away, because I think he's like borderline 1st round talent and he can catch the ball out of the backfield, but I don't think he's going to be that expensive. He had a couple good years a couple years ago, but nothing crazy. Like he's going to be a bargain for you, not the bargain that you have right now with your like dollar store, running back room that you have at the Chiefs. But based on what I think he can give you, he'll want the bag. You'll get a great discount that in a year from now could look fantastic for the Chiefs.
Yeah, and I constantly think that the Chiefs need to be preparing themselves for the next version of this offense without Travis Kelce. This year, Travis Kelce's cap number is $19.8 million. He accounts for 6.9% of the cap. That's more than what Breece Hall would get on the market, right? Like he's probably closer to like 13, 14, 15 million APY. You could basically just like take Travis Kelce out of this offense and then plug Breece Hall into it as far as like the position in the cap space, right? And I think that's valid. Like I think this offense is like you're just not going to replace what Travis Kelce brings to this team as a pass catcher. Saquon's at 20.6 million per year. Then Christian McCaffrey's at 19. He's got no reason to go there. Like looking at the running back contracts, I think there's a reason that you could, like, I think Kyron Williams, James Cook, Kyron Williams at 11 million, James Cook is 11.5. Josh Jacobs is at 12 million APY. I think that's probably right where he would slot as far as like draft value and all those type of things. Like, so you're basically just replacing Travis Kelce in this offense with Breece Hall. And yeah, I think like that's something that they have to factor into. Is just like what the next version of this offense looks like.
Oh God, I can dream. But let's be honest, they're going to trade a 7th round pick swap for Jerome Ford. That's what's going to happen.
You'll get it and you'll like it.
Yeah, the Brett Veach playbook. All right, right before we get out of here, Price, we do a little tradition here. Patty's Power Rankings at the end of every episode. Wanted to do a Chiefs one. I may have done this one with Verderam before, but I thought it'd be a fun one to do with you. I want you to rank your 3 favorite Chiefs Super Bowl wins. 3 to number 1.
This is controversial here. Okay. To me, the Chiefs' best Super Bowl win was the second one, the one against the Eagles. Here's why. I always there was so much pressure on for the Chiefs to win the first one in 50 years. 50 years, a lifetime. Because there's all these stats. Scott Kaxmar on Twitter does a great job of tracking. Like, basically, if you get a new coach and a new quarterback together, if they don't win a Super Bowl in their first 5 years, they never have. It just never happens. And they burst through there. But the reason why is because 2022 made it feel like it wasn't a fluke. People wrote them off after trading Tyreek Hill. Patrick Mahomes at that time was on a real contract. He won MVP. He won Super Bowl MVP. They had a great kind of revenge tour through the playoffs with beating Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Like, top 3 or 4 night as a Chiefs fan is Aaron Ladd standing on the field with Patrick Mahomes Sr. smoking onto Joe Burrow and watching Creed Humphrey and Jerick McKinnon run up to I wasn't there, but watching on Twitter, watching them run up to the cash register out in the stadium to get more beer for the locker room. Like, it was a great time. That was a great game. It was just a really fun game. And then it's tough. I will put the 19 Super Bowl simply because it was my wife. I remember my wife and I was filling up shots for all of our buddies to take Super Bowl shots after they win. I had to sneak water in her cup because we had just found out we were pregnant with my first son. Like, it's more than that. It's like part of your family and stuff too. And then it's hard to say like the one that became a dynasty, the one that sealed the dynasty, but that was it was found money. Like, you never even thought that the Chiefs were going to make that. That was the best run, though. I will say that was the best run. Like, that really cold game in Arrowhead, and then just the ultimate revenge tour of going through and beating 2 MVPs on the road in their stadiums. Like, that was, and then that 49ers team was just an absolute wagon. So I'll go 22, 19, 23. And then, of course, my favorite Super Bowl is the next one.
Yes, absolutely. For me, number 3 for me is the Miami Super Bowl. Obviously, it's the first one, so that was fond memories. But like, it was not an enjoyable watch. It was not. They struggled. Mahomes was having basically his worst game as a Chief to that point. The end was dramatic and exciting, but I was miserable most of the time. Number 2 for me was the Phoenix one over the Eagles. That was a great game, really thrilling and exciting. But number 1 for me is the Vegas win over the 49ers. Like, just from it's the game I enjoyed the most, where I was like, I don't know how this is going to go. You go to overtime, that was just like, for me, like, as a football fan, enjoying it. When I compare that to the first 49ers one, where I was like, we're going to lose with 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And I started cleaning up, and like, I was standing in the kitchen with my head against the cabinets, like alone, like just starting to cope. And then I went back in and they pulled it out. But I love that overtime win over the 49ers is such a dramatic Super Bowl win.
Oh yeah. And the king, or the franchise, whenever they did their version of it and they played the Michael Jordan, like, I biggest controversy in Kansas City sports isn't being talked about right now. Okay. They put a video up, one of those where they ask players questions, and they ask this or that with NBA players for Mahomes, and they get to the LeBron or MJ question, and he said no comment. My tinfoil hat theory, and I know you're a Chicago guy, so this probably, or have lived in Chicago at one point, so I probably know your opinion on this. My tinfoil hat theory is Patrick Mahomes did not want to speak on that because that speaks on the narrative of him or Brady, where it's peak versus overall. And like, I think you could argue that LeBron's peak might have been higher than MJ's peak, which is kind of like the argument of Mahomes. Like, Patrick Mahomes is the best football player to ever live, but Tom Brady's the greatest of all time, or whatever. I feel like he didn't answer that question because it was kind of him speaking on the narrative of him or Brady. And I also know Mahomes is obsessed with Michael Jordan because the Kingdom documentary was from the people who did The Last Dance. So I know he's a huge MJ guy too.
Yeah, look, I live in Chicago. I grew up in Northeast Ohio. I'm a Cavs fan. So, but like when I was young, I was a Bulls fan, like everybody else was, because that was the MJ era. And then I wasn't a basketball fan for a while. And then when I was in college, I got back into the NBA and solidified the hometown team. LeBron gets punished for dragging teams to the finals. And I think that I'm starting to see parallels between LeBron and Mahomes, and that, like, you know, Mahomes drags these teams to the Super Bowl because he's so good. And then, like, they can't block for him and he loses. And so people are like, well, that's a mark against him. It'll be remarkable to see if he can keep it going and keep getting these chances to win them. But LeBron took a team that got swept by the Spurs the first time he went to the finals. Had no business being in a championship game, no business at all, because he was great. And I'll be just fascinated to see how many Super Bowls Patrick Mahomes takes teams to. All right, everybody, we got to get out of here. This was a ton of fun. We'll be back tomorrow with our Freaky Friday show with Adam Best, so make sure you tune in for that. And then enjoy your Sunday of football. We'll be here with our Chiefs pregame show before the Sunday night football game against the Lions. Price will be there with you. You're doing halftime again, right?
Yep, I'm doing 2 of the 3. I'm not sure which. Yeah, but definitely halftime.
Yeah. Price will have you at halftime for our halftime show, and then we'll see you after the show for the Arrowhead Addict Chiefs post-game show. This was a lot of fun, Price. Thank you so much for stepping in. Make sure you check out Price's show on Monday with Christian, The Intangibles. It's a must-watch. And, of course, all of his work and frequent mock drafts over at arrowheadaddict.com. For producer Richard, for Price Carter, my name is Patrick Allen. We'll see you guys tomorrow. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.